The book of Exodus in the Bible recounts the story of the Israelites who escaped from slavery in Egypt to the land of Canaan, a place they believed God to have promised them for their faith. This story of an endeavor towards freedom resonated with African Americans in the 1870s, who sought to escape their own cage of racial prejudice. Inspired by the Book of Exodus, this group of African Americans dubbed themselves the Exodusters, as they migrated to Kansas in search of liberation. After the end of the Civil War in 1865, and the passage of the 13th Amendment, which outlawed slavery in the United States, African Americans still faced racial oppression despite their new freedom. During the era of Reconstruction, many whites in the South sought to prevent blacks from climbing the social and financial ranks. The lack of job options in the South forced African Americans to work primarily as farmers for white landowners who paid unreasonably low wages. Additionally, white Democrats resisted African American citizens' participation in politics by keeping blacks from casting their Republican ballots. During this time, racial violence against blacks also gained momentum, as displayed by the formation of the Ku Klux Klan, or the KKK, a white supremacist organization that lynched and murdered many people of color. Inhibited from moving ahead in American society and fearful of terrorism by white supremacist groups, freed blacks were motivated to migrate out of the South. In 1862, the United States Congress passed the Homestead Act, which offered land in the West free of cost to any citizen who agreed to taking it. Many blacks were attracted to the opportunity of free land and decided to migrate westward. Those 600,000 some African Americans who moved out of the South were named the Exodusters. African Americans were specifically drawn to Kansas for its history of fighting to remain a slave-free state. Benjamin Pap Singleton was one of the key leading figures in encouraging African Americans to travel west. He led several groups and started colonies in places such as the Cherokee Colony and Nicodemus, Kansas. In Kansas, black communities like Nicodemus grew tremendously, bustling with activity as new families flooded in. Incoming travelers were often without money and sick with yellow fever after their long journey. United in shared struggles, these communities bonded through their efforts to adapt and survive. By the summer of 1879, the fervor of the Exodusters' westward migration began to dwindle. Those who bravely escaped from racial prejudice looked upon a new horizon of opportunity. These Exoduster communities, though having been riddled with disease and destitution, became prided communities of hope, possibility, and freedom. They had reached their promised land, just like the Israelites in the book of Exodus.